Hello there guys, RMP792 here. I've now seen Avengers Endgame. Okay, same warning I always give whenever I talk about a new film. I'm going to give spoiler-free impressions first, and then you will get a big, blaring, shouty spoiler warning before I actually go into the spoilers. With that said, quick and dirty summation, this is a good film. I enjoyed this film. If you have not yet seen this film, you may wish to consider stopping this video right there, going and seeing it, and then coming back. Okay? Right. So yeah, spoiler-free impressions. This is a really, really good film. While it is 3 hours long, it didn't really feel that way to me. I wasn't bored. None of it felt unnecessarily stretched or anything like that. It had me on the edge of my seat at a few points. It drew from me a range of emotions. By which I mean, yes, I was crying at the back of the cinema like a 5-year-old girl. Seriously, I inherited my emotions from my mother. They're a pain in the ass. But yeah, so I very much enjoyed this movie. This was a very, very good film. It does feel like a culmination of the Marvel Cinematic Universe up to this point, and I am genuinely curious to see where they go from here, given that it does feel like the end in a lot of ways. Sort of for the universe as a whole. But yeah, overall it was really good. It was really enjoyable. I would highly recommend it. And is there anything else I can really say without going into spoilers? Nope, I think that's it. So, massive spoiler warning. I am not kidding. I will be talking about spoilers from the beginning. I will be talking about spoilers from the end. I will be talking about spoilers from all through the middle of the film. You have been warned. I will be continuing to talk about this film in 20 seconds, and at that point, spoilers there be. You got that? Good. Okay, so in 10, 9, 8. I'm a dick sometimes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So. I'm not entirely sure where to start with the spoiler section on this one, to be honest, because there is a lot of movie in this movie. I'll freely admit, I like the fact they started the film with Barton. Because Barton's always been kind of screwed over a bit in these films. He tends to feel like a lesser character. And that's not Jeremy Renner's fault at all. It's just he's not in as much. He never feels like as much of a focus for the film as the other Avengers. So starting it with Barton being just home with his family, and just you see their nice, pleasant home life. He's teaching his daughter some archery, and they're having a family conversation about who wants what on their hot dog and so on and so forth. And he sort of turns around to talk to his daughter, and all you see is this cloud of dust drifting away. And he turns round, and none of them are there anymore. No. Yeah, that got to me. That was an effective ass opening for this film. But yeah, throughout the film, there were lots and lots of moments, and I've been talking about Discovery a lot on this channel recently, and Discovery, as I said, felt a lot of the time like they had good moments, but everything around them irked me, and so none of the moments resonated the way they should have. This is kind of the exact opposite. While I have problems with a lot of the logical setup of this film, and especially in regards to its time travel stuff, none of it really mattered. Insofar as I'm a nitpicky bastard. I own a copy of the Nitpicker's Guide to Star Trek and a copy of the Nitpicker's Guide to Star Trek The Next Generation. But in spite of that, the moments where this film said, bollocks to the logic, we're going to go with making sure everybody feels the way we want them to, are the moments when this film is at its best. So, and as a result, it's going to piss some people off. The kind of obsessive nutter that I am a lot of the time, who obsesses over technology flaws or inconsistent continuity. This film kind of laughs at you, but most importantly, it makes you feel. And that's heartbreaking moments, like the scene between Nat and Clint, where they're getting the Soul Stone. I was crying like a little girl in that scene because I knew one of them wasn't making it out. And my money was on Clint. My money really was on Clint. And them having their, effectively mini fight over which of them was going to die. Because both of them were completely willing to sacrifice themselves for the other and for the world. And the moment when Nat deliberately pushes away from him at the cliff, forces him to drop her. Oh, yeah. So I have no idea where the hell they go from there in terms of, because we are supposedly getting a Black Widow movie, and there's been rumors that it was going to be a prequel. It'll have to be a prequel now, given that she's dead. And that was heartbreaking to watch. That was and again, I like the fact that Clint and Scarlet Witch have that little scene at the end together, which is just about what they both lost. He's lost his best friend, she's lost the man she had grown to love. And they are just there for each other, which is, I like seeing small little moments like that. And in complete contrast to that, you have glorious moments during the action sequence, and the specific moment that is going to resonate with me for quite a while is what we can all refer to as the "I knew it" moment. Specifically, when Thor's been pinned down by Thanos, who's trying to push Stormbreaker into his chest, and deliberate kind of mirror of what Thor did to Thanos in the last film. And he's pushing and pushing and pushing, and suddenly Mjolnir comes flying out of the back. Again, if you haven't seen the film, it won't make sense how Mjolnir's here. But again, I told you to see the film before you listen to this. So Mjolnir comes flying out, smashes Thanos off the back of the head, gets him off of Thor. It stops in midair, and it goes back to the man who threw it. And Steve goddamn Rogers catches Thor's hammer. And Thor's reaction to this isn't shock or horror or feeling like he's lost anything. It's a simple, I knew it. Because by this point, Thor has realised that the mantle of the hammer isn't necessarily what makes him worthy of being him. Again, he has a really good conversation with his mother. And side note, Durham Cathedral. Sorry, all those Asgard bits, I know exactly where they were shot. Right down to, I can tell you which columns those were. Because Durham Cathedral is one of my favourite buildings on the face of this planet. It's about a half-hour walk from where I live. And I find it one of the best places in the world to just kind of go and sit and contemplate. So I recognised basically all of the Asgard set. I could even tell you which of the things Rocket was sitting on. But anyway. But no, he had a good talk with his mother. And so seeing Steve on camera wielding, shield in one hand, hammer in the other. Yes. So that was one of those hell yes moments that, I half expected him to do it way back in Age of Ultron, with the tease where he tries to lift it and, it's implied that, it wobbles a bit, and the implication is that Steve is deliberately not really trying because he doesn't want to hurt Thor's feelings. He doesn't want to show him up in front of the group. Whereas, there he's they're in the middle of a fight. They need it, and it's a great goddamn moment. And that final battle sequence, where they've successfully managed to bring everybody back to life. Or everybody was snapped away at the very least. They've been brought back, and once again they all assemble for one massive climax. And you've just got Strange opening all of these portals, and you've got the Wakandans, you've got the Guardians, you've got the other Avengers, you've got all of the other wizards, turning up, and just. And I just kind of love the bit where Strange just looks at Wally and goes, "Is this everybody? You wanted more?" Kinda, yeah. You all know what I'm gonna say. I kind of wanted, Luke Cage, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Punisher, all of those guys. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I would have loved to see Quake somewhere in that battle. With May backing her up. Who else? Is there anybody else who's definitively part of the universe? But I would have loved to see those guys turn up, even if it was only a brief cameo. Nick Fury and Maria Hill weren't in that battle, and it feels like they maybe should have been. Again, pure fan wankery. It would have been really fun if the helicarrier turned up there and started strafing the enemy or something. Again, I get why they didn't. That would not have made any sense. Kind of don't care. But yeah, so that was really, really good. That was really, that was a hell of a battle sequence. And everybody just going for it and fighting and characters turning up and standing alongside each other. So you've got Valkyrie riding in on a freaking Pegasus, and Pepper Potts turning up in the rescue suit, which of course he was clearly making for her earlier. You've got I don't even know who the hell else turns up because everybody's goddamn in this. And I'll freely admit, I suspect that there's one particular moment in this film that is going to piss off a very whiny subset of the fans, namely the bit where I can't remember who has the damn glove at that point, but they're trying to get the glove over to the van because they want to get they want to chuck it through the time portal and get rid of it so that Thanos can't use it to redo his plan, but even worse. And there is a moment when it's a phalanx of badass female characters. So you've got Valkyrie, you've got Pepper Potts, you've got who the hell else is in that? You've got the Wasp, you've got Nebula, and again, and I know I'm missing at least 3 or 4 more who come in there, and this is one of those films that I'm going to rewatch like half a dozen times and still be noticing new stuff in some of those giant sequences. Scarlet Witch is another one. I'm definitely missing at least a couple in there. And them all kind of forming this phalanx and going for it, and then punching a hole through the enemy lines. Are just. So this film gave me the feels. I haven't had an experience like that in the cinema since I saw Pacific Rim for the first time. That was the last film I saw that got me into the battle sequences in a full-on, come on! I'm trying to put feelings into words here, and there really aren't any words for how this made me feel. And that ultimately is the important point. Just watching some of these things. Ant-Man turning really huge and punching one of the giant snakes, snake things out of the air, and just. But and that's like the last 20-30 minutes of the film. That stuff. I mean, there's 2.5 hours of movie before that. Because you've got people dealing with the aftermath of the snap, and it's the whole 5 years later thing. And how do people deal with the fact that half the universe just died? And Thanos clearly, as he says, he sees. I've seen what a couple of people online, complaining that Thanos has gone with a completely different plan now because his plan was never to destroy the universe. But as he says, he sees the aftermath of what happens when he goes through with his plan, and he realizes his plan doesn't quite work. His plan doesn't work for the simple reason that people remember how it was before, and people just can't move on. So he changes up his plan to destroy the universe and rebuild it and make it perfect this time around. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Some people are complaining that that this is out of character for him. It really isn't. The guy's a lunatic. His plan was stupid from the get go. He was just the archetypal complete nutter who's convinced he's in the right, except he actually had the power to back it up. Thanos was a Bond villain who succeeded to all intents and purposes. So we've got a lot of time travel in this movie. And as I said, the mechanics of how this time travel works don't really make sense. I get that they have to effectively shrink through the quantum realm, come out the other side in whatever timeline they want to be in. That's fine. That makes sense. But the idea that they can't change the past no matter what they do. However, the Infinity Stones themselves are kind of fundamental to those universes, so have to go back. Sort of makes sense, sort of doesn't. But again, the fact that the time travel doesn't really make sense doesn't bother me somehow. For whatever reason, it just kind of works, and I'm okay with that. Again, be consistent in your nonsense. That's all you need. And so they take you on a fair bit of a nostalgia trip throughout this film. This is nostalgia for the last 10 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So we've got flashbacks to the first Avengers, to the first Avengers movie. Where they're having to where they're pilfering the Tesseract, and they're doing a whole bunch of other cool stuff. Or you've got Tony and sorry. You've got Tony and Cap having to travel further back in time to nick the Tesseract from SHIELD storage, and Tony gets a chance to tell his father some important things. And again, that was a really that was a good sequence. Again, lots of great moments in this film, and I can't talk about all of them. There are too many to just talk about on camera like this. But Banner and the Hulk actually managing to find something of a balance made me wonder if they were kind of teasing the Maestro. Because if you're not aware, the Maestro is a villainous character from an alternate universe who is the Hulk, but he's got Banner's brain and no morals at all. So the Maestro is a serious threat because he's a super genius with the Hulk's full strength and a giant Santa Claus beard. But yeah, he's certainly interesting. I actually like the fact that Banner and the Hulk have found a sort of peace with each other effectively, and Banner's now reached the stage that Jennifer Walters, can't remember her surname, the SheHulk has, i.e. she just stays big and green most of the time because why not? She doesn't lose her intelligence, she's still herself. So she might as well be big and strong, and have all the advantages being the Hulk while being herself. Which is always great whenever she's doing her job as a professional lawyer and she just turns up as the SheHulk and it's. But no, that was an interesting place to take that. I enjoyed that. That was a bit different and a bit fun. But yeah, and just this was a really good movie, guys. But in terms of where it leaves us going forward. Tony's gone, and Tony sacrificing himself to save the universe. That was a good call. I get some people probably wanted Tony to have a happier ending than that, but Tony's problem in all the early films, and this is not a problem with the films, this is Tony's big character flaw that he eventually has worked to overcome over the course of 10 films. That's character development. So this has not been a problem, but the flaw that he has had to work to overcome is that Tony has always been a little bit selfish. kind of intrinsically so. He built the original Iron Man suit to save his own life. He built the Marks II and the Mark III because he was angry that people had been using what he built for evil. In two, he's dying, and he's trying to come to terms with that, basically by getting drunk off his ass. And the Avengers is the first time he has the chance to do something genuinely heroic, and it gives him major PTSD for a while. And ever since then, he has been growing and becoming a better person. And that moment when because here's the thing, he knows that as soon as he has that glove on, he ain't making it through that. He is going to die. That's what, that's why Stephen told him, he sees one outcome where they win. And if he told Stark how it happened, it wouldn't happen. Because, Stark basically looks at him and he just holds up the one finger. And that's the moment when he knows for certain he's not making it out of this alive. And he does it anyway. I've always found willing self-sacrifice a very interesting thing. Because there's a quote from Babylon 5. Sorry, I'm tearing up already. But yes, there's a quote from Babylon 5, which is from Delen's teacher, who turns up at one point. Well, a few points actually, but yeah, he turns up and he says to her, and he throws a question at her, just as a friendly greeting, which is, what is the fourth principle of sentient life? The fourth principle of sentient life is sacrifice. The willingness to give up one's life for a friend, a lover, family, a cause, anything that is worth giving up your life for. And that's the point Tony finally reached. He found something worth dying for. Because finding things worth living for isn't that difficult most of the time, especially not if you're somebody like Tony. Finding something worth dying for, that's a very different thing. Yep, I'm tearing up. So Tony's sacrifice made a lot of sense. And I was crying like crying like a 5-year-old girl in the back. Few loud sniffs coming from my row. But so that was the right call for the character, because his ultimate fate being a noble sacrifice for the world and for his daughter is the right end for a character like that, if we're talking character arc. Whereas the way, Steve's ultimate fate in this movie is also perfect for his character. Because Tony Stark has always been on a quest for redemption. He was an egomaniacal. There we go. He was an God damn it, it's an M, you know that. He was an egomaniacal dipshit at the beginning of the first movie. And over 10 years, he's become a better man. Steve Rogers never really became a better man. He was always who he was. He was always the hero. Again, he's the guy who gets beaten up in a back alley and will not stand down, even though he's getting absolutely pummeled, because he believes that somebody has to stand up to bullies. And again, as Erskine said, the serum didn't change him. All the serum did, was bring out all that he could be. So as he says, it turns bad worse and good into great. But don't fundamentally let it change who he is. A good man. And Steve getting his happy ending there by, travelling back in time, And rather than coming back, deciding, I've done enough. You know? And turning up on that bench as an old man who lived a good life. Does that make sense with the way the time travel mechanics have been set up in the rest of the film? No. Do I care? Not even slightly. And handing the shield over to Falcon, yeah, that felt right. Again, it felt like it had to go to either Bucky or oh god, why the hell am I blanking on Falcon's first name? Sam. It felt like it had to go to either Bucky or Sam, and yeah, I think Sam was probably the right call. Bucky clearly thought that Sam was the right call for that one because again, part of the point about Captain America is that he's an expression of what America should be. He's an ideal to strive for. And in a lot of ways, Sam embodies that better than Bucky does because Bucky's got, as Nat used to put it, he has red in his ledger. Whereas Sam, he was pararescue or something like that. Again, and of the two of them, Sam embodies the ideal. So that was good. And that was the right place to end the film. Because again, we knew going in that this was almost certainly going to be the last time we saw Tony. This was going to be the last time we saw Cap. The rest of them were a bit more up in the air. So we know we're getting more Guardians because James Gunn's back on board. That's been delayed for a little while. Gamora is back, though it's a version of her from before she met them. So I'm curious. Again, the reset button was not pushed. My assumption was that they would travel back in time and completely prevent it or something like that. But no. This is 5 years later with half the planet's population has aged 5 years and half hasn't. Characters have been through some stuff, and I'm legitimately curious to see where a lot of these characters go from here. Characters like Peter Parker, who's in school, or Scott Lang and his daughter, who's now a teenager. And 20 quid says at some point Cassie's putting on a wasp suit. Calling it right now. So some future Avengers or Ant-Man sequel or something like that. Because again, they want to keep these stories going as long as possible. And the problem that the comics have had for a long time is that status quo is king. As in, somebody new and interesting can come and take off or take over a mantle for a while. But eventually it's always going to go back to the status quo. It's always going to be the original character with that mantle. Like they had the arc where Thor Odin's son was basically decided he was not worthy of wielding Mjolnir, and Jane Foster took it up and became the female Thor. But that was never going to last permanently. They've gone back now. Whereas in the MCU, because they're limited by actors, because characters will age and grow and change, they do need to keep bringing in the next generation. Which is part of what Phase 3 was doing, was bringing in new characters. So Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, who else had Black Panther, all had their first movie here. The new Spider-Man as well was in there. So they'll be, the big group going forwards, and I suspect we'll get at least one more, origin film or something of its like in the next phase, minimum, probably two. Because again, they want to keep these going for as long as possible. They want to keep telling these stories, and they want to keep making money. Is the brutal answer. But as long as we keep getting interested, passionate storytellers who are willing to go places with it, and not just rest on their laurels, then I think we could genuinely see some really great stuff going forward. There is potential for some very interesting stories. And I do want to see what they do with it. So, yeah, this was a really great film. There is so much in this film to talk about, but I'm going to limit this to the sort of half-hour length I try to roughly keep to. But yeah, great film. I will be talking about this one with a lot of people I know in real life who are going to see it, and just I'm going to be unpacking this one in my head for quite a while because again, massive film. I mean, again, I've rambled for half an hour. I haven't even vaguely described what actually happens in this film in terms of the actual plot. There is a lot. As I said, there is a lot of movie in this movie. But yeah, so that I'm going to limit myself to that. So yeah, really great. Really liked it. I may even do something I very rarely do. I don't tend to see films at the cinema more than once. I might go and see it again. Maybe not. I actually I got a free bonus ticket because this was kind of hilarious. Around about the point that they did their first time travel test, not the one that turned Scott into a kid, the one that actually worked, where they sent Hawkeye back. Around the point that he blinks out of existence, the screen went black. And we thought, okay, this is clearly a part of the film. And then the house lights came up, and this automated message started playing telling us all to evacuate. So that was fun. So we all troop out, and then there's people gesticulating to us to go back inside because this was somewhere somewhere in the shopping centre where I went to the cinema. Something weird had happened, and it was enough to trip the emergency evacuation stuff from the cinema. So yeah, so to apologise, they give us all a bunch of guest tickets so we can go and see a free film. Don't know what I'll use it on, but there must be something interesting coming out at some point. But no, it was a really good film. I'm really glad I saw it. That they have stuck the landing on this one, and I don't know where the hell the MCU goes from here, but I'm curious to find out. So, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in future videos.